Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World of Wrestling podcast. Here today to discuss about the WWE Monday Night Raw episode from last night for March 16th, 2026 review. My thoughts, this show is okay, but that main, I don't know if you want to call it the main event, but the last segment of the show didn't exactly hit as great as it could have been. I didn't think it was terrible by any means, but they could have done better. And I don't understand why they didn't pull the trigger on the Roman Reigns talking shit about Larry and how he's going to bury him next to his dog as a way of retaliating to the comment he made about him, adding that extra layer of friction between the two of them. And instead, they went the route of, you're too old and I can run circles around you. Dialogue. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it didn't really put a whole lot of layer to it, as it is talking about someone's personal loved one. And that's kind of the direction we needed to go with this, having a full-on brawl and having authority figure coming out and separating the two. That was none of the case. It just got CM Punk heated about how he's slow, this, that, and the other, and he smashed him upside the head with the microphone. And Roman sat on the mat and started laughing his ass off, as to say, hey, you want to play games with me and get inside my head? I just got in yours, and I'm going to kick your ass at WrestleMania. So that's pretty much what we got from that segment. I'll go into the further details once we get to the dialogue, but it was alright, but not as great as what people were expecting. I think my friend Matt87 Eagle, he was talking to me about that while we were working today, and he was like, bro, they didn't even bring up about the Larry stuff, like CM Punk's dog, and taking a shot at that. And it was, he said he found out it was somewhere because from WWE that they didn't want to go that route because they thought maybe it would be bad publicity and whatnot. Well, if that's the case, then why wouldn't you just not bring up about Roman Reigns' father? That clearly doesn't make any sense. If you're not going to bring it up about a dog, why would you bring it up about a loved one who just recently passed away? Don't quite understand that, but you're going to do one way, you can sure as hell do it the other way. But, you know, it is what it is, as they would say. Me personally, I've given up on WWE. Earlier this year, after the Royal Rumble, I was really tempted of just saying goodbye to the whole fucking thing of WWE. But honestly, WWE brings in viewership for this channel, so if I'm going to continue to keep doing YouTube, I figure I might as well do WWE content. At least for Monday Night Raw. SmackDown, totally different story. I'm not covering SmackDown this week again. 3 weeks in a row, I know. I watched SmackDown this past Friday, but I didn't actually give you guys the review. I don't care to give you the review. The only thing that was worth watching on SmackDown was Randy Orton turning heel and attacking Cody Rhodes. But it looked a lot similar to what we've seen in the past, in the last 2 years of WrestleManias, with Cody Rhodes going for the World Championship or being in the main event of WrestleMania. So, me personally, don't particularly care for it. For watching SmackDown, I'm going to be covering House of Glory. This coming Friday, they're going to have a event taking place. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that for you guys on a Friday night to make up the SmackDown review. Because SmackDown, I'm not sitting through 3 hours of SmackDown when I could be doing something completely different. And if I'm going to sit down and watch a wrestling show, I'm going to watch a wrestling show that entertains me. And House of Glory definitely delivers. If you have Triller TV and get the Triller TV Plus, it's only $7.99 a month. You get access to a bunch of other wrestling promotions you may have never heard of. and they're actually kind of fun to sit through. No, not a lot of storytelling, mostly work rate type of events, but they're not every single week. They're once every couple of weeks, and they give you an event. And I think that's really the way wrestling should be at this point, but I don't think creative has a fucking clue on either company, honestly, in both AEW and WWE. I think creatively they're inept, and WWE's just even worse because not also do they not give you the creative side, but they can't even deliver on the work rate side of things either. So yes, I am not impressed, as the French would put it with the French accent. But yeah, I'm not impressed with either one of these promotions. I like AEW better though because of the work rate that they put in for their pay-per-views. That pay-per-view at Revolution this past Sunday was fucking fantastic. Loads of fun to sit through. I enjoyed myself, and I fucking spazzed out throughout most of the matches, honestly. I mean, I'd say about 3 or 4 of them could have been removed from the card to shorten the show and make it an actual 3 hours. But excluding that part, I think the show was fucking fun and entertaining as hell. And a few other minor things like kicking out at the count of 1, which I didn't cover in my review because I'm limited on time and because I do these recordings off of my tablet and I just have so much time to speak of every bit of detail on the show. So anyway, without a further ado, let's get into the Monday Night Raw review. Oh boy, oh boy. So Obafemi, he officially challenged Brock Lesnar to last night in a match, apparently, through him dumping him on his ass and putting his foot on top of his chest. That he is looking for a fight at the WrestleMania event. So chances are he is going to challenge Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I would hope so. The Monday Night Raw episode though did kick off with the cult of masked men. This shit with the masked men is getting rather annoying at this point. I don't care what Seth Rollins is doing now at this point with the fucking mask. We know it's Seth Rollins. We don't need a flock of idiots wearing masks that nobody knows who the hell they are and no one cares about on my television. I really do not give a flying shit. And, yeah. I didn't care for this segment all that much, except for when Brock Lesnar tried to come out and he destroyed the entire Masked Men group, which I enjoyed watching that. Yeah, didn't particularly care for all the rest of it. The statement that Paul Heyman made was pretty good. I liked what he had to say. But anyway, what Seth Rollins had to say. Let's get into that first. Rollins says he wants to make something perfectly clear. Rollins created the vision and he will be the one to control the vision. He doesn't care if you are on the shelf like Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. He doesn't care if you're a pioneer or a hanger on like Austin Theory or Logan Paul. If you stand next to Paul Heyman, consider yourself marked for death. 2 weeks ago, he had the satisfaction of putting a steel chair into Paul Heyman's back, stomping his fat head onto the mat, causing him to bleed quite profusely above the bridge of his nose. Out of nowhere, Paul, looking disheveled, unshaven, pretty much is growing out a beard, and sporting a bloodshot eye, appears on the stage and also has a huge cut on the bridge of his nose, probably where the blood was coming from. I thought he broke his nose. It was just a bad gash above the bridge of his nose. Rollins says Heyman thinks he's smarter than him. And then a fuck you chant broke out for Paul Heyman. Rollins says the crowd is saying it for him. Heyman is staring into the distance and walking down the aisle at a glacial pace. Rollins says he hopes it was worth it for Heyman. And Rollins has made a lot of mistakes in his life. Letting Heyman into his inner circle was one of the worst one he's made. Rollins will pay him back for his betrayal every single day until he's gone from this business. He'll cut Heyman out like the cancer he is. He also brings up the inner circle. I mean, that could be coincidence, but I mean, Chris Jericho had the inner circle as his faction in AEW, but we'll just take that up as coinky dink. Heyman is shaking in anger and wipes his eye. Heyman says he wasn't going to come out here, but he wouldn't miss this for the world. Did he interrupt Rollins' precious little hateful promo? It's because he's effing with him. Rollins effed with him, so he did it back. The rule is F-O-F-O. Fuck around and find out. Heyman shouts this multiple times before saying F-A-F-5. Thought that was pretty cool little thing he did. And then Brock Lesnar walks out onto the stage, takes his cowboy hat off, and the masked men get in the ring to protect Rollins, and Heyman takes Lesnar's hat and vest, and Lesnar goes to work, laying a fucking load of bodies all over the place with German suplexes and F5s. Eventually leading towards him trying to get to Rollins. Lesnar fights off the last three guys that were in the ring with Rollins and stares at Rollins at the end of all this before delivering a German suplex. Lesnar gives another a masked man a F5. Lesnar takes the third one and gives him a German suplex. Lesnar then stares at Rollins, who definitely hasn't gotten out of the ring. The lights go out and Obafemi comes out. Lesnar is incensed as the crowd chants Oba, and Rollins stands in the corner and smirks, and Lesnar looks nervous upon seeing the massive Femi. Why he would be nervous, I have no idea. He eliminated Femi from the Royal Rumble match itself, so I don't know why he's concerned about Obafemi of all people when he's shown his dominance against Obafemi. I mean, Obafemi ain't no pushover, but why should he be afraid of Obafemi at this point in his career? Especially the fact that he's the most dominating wrestler in professional wrestling today. Femi gets in the ring and the crowd continues to chant his name. Lesnar slowly starts to walk toward Femi, and Rollins comes up to Lesnar, but he scurries away when Lesnar turns to him, and Lesnar then walks to Femi, and Femi grabs him and delivers a massive fall from grace. And Femi puts his foot on Brock Lesnar's chest and points to the WrestleMania sign. He is accepting the open challenge, apparently. That's our assumption. We haven't made it official yet by anyone from WWE, but yeah. So Femi celebrates and Lesnar gets out of the ring looking completely stunned. Not a bad sales job by Brock Lesnar making Obafemi look good. Apparently there was a rumor running around that Brock Lesnar doesn't want to sell for anyone. He is not going to lose to anybody. Now, granted, that could be the case here. I mean, he may be making him look good, but in the end of the day, Brock Lesnar is going to walk away with the W at WrestleMania. And Obafemi's just going to look good in the match, but he's not going to win the actual match. So that's a possibility as well. So we'll have to just keep an eye out for this match. Last Monday on Raw, the Usos demanded an apology from CM Punk after saying he buried Roman Reigns next to his deceased father. They laid out Punk with a strike when he refused to apologize. Rollins returns to Raw tonight to address CM Punk as part of the last segment of the show. El Grande Americano won the Rey de Reyes tournament this past Saturday on AAA, so he will be getting a shot for the AAA World Championship. So our first match of the night is El Grande Americano as Kaiser, and then the original El Grande Americano, Chad Gable. Match was pretty fair and decent. I didn't really have much to complain about with this match. And Michael Cole continuously keeps putting out there that those moves that the original El Grande Americano seems very familiar to him. Not to mention, he went over the top with the Obafemi move on Brock Lesnar, saying holy shit on commentary, and pretty much selling Obafemi as this massive, large man who might be able to beat the Beast. So, that should be interesting. But yeah, he did a very good sales job on that as well. Selling that move by Michael Cole and going all out crazy. So anyway, they also announced the tickets for WrestleMania 42 are now 31.6% off today for the 3/16 day of March 16th. Last night. So if you wanted tickets, you get 31% off on those tickets. Not that I would fucking care for any of that. Anyway, we get a black sedan drives into the parking garage. Out steps Roman Reigns. The World Tag Team Champions greet their cousin Roman Reigns. Reigns says he knows it felt good for them to attack CM Punk. They say he deserved it. Reigns says, when you run your mouth, there are consequences. Reigns looks into the camera and tells his entire bloodline they should be offended by what Punk said about his father. They have before and after WrestleMania, but that weekend CM Punk is his. Reigns shakes his hands with his cousins, and Roman Reigns will address CM Punk's comments later in the night. Now, we had a segment on the show last night about Randy Orton getting a phone call in the middle of a interview by Michael Cole, and apparently he did not go through with the interview because he didn't really want to talk about it, but he had someone on the phone that he is looking forward to introducing to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, I think it is, or sometime between now and WrestleMania. That was on the phone. There are some people thinking it's The Rock. Could be Kevin Owens. That'd be a nice surprise back to WWE. That would be cool. But I don't know if it's Kevin Owens because Randy Orton and Kevin Owens had some beef before going into WrestleMania of last year, which we never got, unfortunately, because of the injury. So quite frank with you guys, the only two people I can think of, and this might sound crazy to some, especially the first one, compared to the second one, and even the second one, some people might find it crazy, and probably nauseating as well. Wouldn't it be funny that the man that Randy Orton was talking to was either Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock? The Rock's more believable than Stone Cold, but Stone Cold being the guy to talk some sense into Randy Orton and convince him to be the old Randy Orton that he used to be, that made him a champion, that's believable. Steve Austin being like the guy that screws over Cody Rhodes out of the WWE Championship, and then we get a Stone Cold Cody Rhodes program following that. I don't know, man. If we were to get Stone Cold Steve Austin and Cody Rhodes at Backlash here in Tampa on May 9th, I might reconsider. I may buy a ticket just to see Stone Cold Steve Austin and Cody Rhodes' ass. But I'm not even going to say it's him. I don't think Stone Cold would even align himself to this. I mean, it's to me, it would be an interesting program. Number one. Number two, Steve Austin be playing a dastardly heel with another snake in the grass, like Randy Orton. He's a viper, and Stone Cold's a rattlesnake. So, I mean, tying the two together as being two different types of snakes being together as one doesn't sound out of the question to me. So, I would actually be down for that, to be quite frank with you. I wouldn't have any issues with it. And the other thing is The Rock. The Rock could be that guy, and there's a connection between the person that Adam Pearce was talking to a while back going into the Royal Rumble about Braun Breaker and his suspension thing. There was conversations about that. Maybe that's a connection between the two phone calls that were taking place, which is a possibility. And maybe it was The Rock the whole time. Now, there's also the other thing. Maybe The Rock's building himself a faction with his own personal champions. And since Cody Rhodes didn't want to be his personal champion last year, and John Cena obviously had no connection with The Rock, could we be seeing Randy Orton being The Rock's champion, fucking over Cody Rhodes, and also CM Punk being The Rock's other champion for Monday Night Raw, and he has ownership or control over these two world champions. And he has his own personal faction amongst Randy Orton and CM Punk. And The Rock basically turns on his entire family. And, maybe The Rock comes back and says, you know what? Fuck the family shit. I'm about business. I want champions. My own family can't do shit. Jey Uso can't remain a world champion. He can't cut it as a world champion, and he accepts it. That sickens me. You got a guy running around here saying he's the tribal chief but isn't the fucking world champion, carrying that title on his shoulders. Allows a man to talk shit about our family, doesn't do nothing about it. Stands there in awe, doesn't knock him the fuck out for saying shit like that. And then on top of it, allows the man to hit him upside the head with a microphone and sits on the mat and laughs. And to him, that's a disgrace to his own family. So his attitude is, fuck you two, you three guys, Roman Reigns and the Usos. And I spit on family legacy, and I care about business at this point. Because apparently this family don't seem to give a shit about the disrespect. So why should I? And there you go. Pays CM Punk off. Gives CM Punk an easy way out to win the world title and retain it. And he becomes his champion. And gives him everything. Such as ways into the acting business, which he's been trying to get into. CM Punk had a movie come out recently this year with him and Justin Long as vampires called Night Patrol. So, I mean, take it as you will. But he was in that he was playing one of the lead villain characters in that movie. So yeah, there is some shit that's going on with CM Punk. He's looking to somehow get into the acting business. It would connect very well with the story that you would be telling. And The Rock can get him in there. He has connections in the Hollywood. So he would have a way of getting CM Punk in there. Randy Orton would have the same thing as long as they, gave in to The Rock. And The Rock does what he does. I would love that. I think that would be fine, in my personal opinion. But to each his own, But me personally, I think it would be fine to do it that way. Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back and having a match with Cody Rhodes at like Backlash or next year's WrestleMania. I think that would be fine. I mean, there's all kinds of things they could go about doing this, but it's all dependent on what they want to do. Anyway, last week on Raw, Dominic Mysterio blamed Finn Balor for costing him the Intercontinental Championship match. This led to a confrontation that led to the Judgment Day viciously beating Balor down and excommunicating him from the group. Liv Morgan actually cut a vignette about this, which was really done well. Thought this was perfectly fine the way she did it. Here's what she had to say. Liv Morgan tears up a Finn Balor jersey. She says this has been her plan since the day she joined the Judgment Day. Balor thought he was in control and in charge. Balor was on borrowed time and didn't know it. She only put up with Balor out of respect for his relationship with Dominic Mysterio. Morgan knows when Balor is lying, scheming, and thinking he's being manipulated. It's been a pleasure watching Balor fall from grace. Balor couldn't hang with the Judgment Day anymore. Balor got soft. He's pathetic, a loser, and washed up. It made her sick calling Balor her family every week. They took a play out of Balor's playbook. Balor did teach them the Judgment Day way, which is basically when you've had enough and you think they've run their course, knock them out of the group. So now they're on to bigger and better things. JD McDonough is finally free from Balor holding him down. Dominic is still a AAA Mega Champion and will get the Intercontinental Championship back. Now that the Prince is gone, there's a new king on the throne. Raquel Rodriguez is a future champion and will take care of her WrestleMania opponent, Stephanie Valcour. She doesn't mention anything about Perez. Forgot her first name. Give me 1 minute. Hold on 1 second, guys. Oh, man. But yeah, the king, I don't know who the king would be. Is that reference to Dominic Mysterio being the new king of the Judgment Day or something? I don't quite get that one. But it is what it is. Roxanne Perez, excuse me. Yeah, they didn't mention anything about Roxanne Perez. They just said Raquel Rodriguez is a future champion, and that was that. For whatever reason, I have no idea. But hey, what does it matter, honestly? Like, who gives a shit? Let's see here. I lost my place here with this review. Yeah, she mentions Raquel Rodriguez, but not Roxanne Perez, as if she's not even part of the group, which is kind of weird. So anyway, this past Saturday at AAA, Rey Des Reyes, Dominic Mysterio defeated Vikingo to stay AAA champion. Penta will defend his IC championship later on in the night. Then we go backstage. Roman Reigns is sitting in a locker room with the Usos like we used to back in the day when they were part of the Bloodline officially. And Jey Uso says he couldn't believe Reigns didn't lay CM Punk out last time. There you go. There's some shit right there. Jimmy Uso says Punk has nothing to do, nothing on him. All they can say is Reigns is a part-timer. Reigns asks if they know how much he saw his father as a kid. They all didn't. They paid their dues. Their kids don't have to. Reigns doesn't care if people think he's a part-timer. What matters to him the most is his family. And I agree with that comment. It's very true. Wrestlers spend more time being away from their families than being around their families. And Roman Reigns has been at the top of the heap for a very long time, for like 10 years almost. He's been away from his family, hasn't been around his kids. He wants to be part of the company, but he also wants to be around his family. And you know what? Nobody, and I mean nobody, should hate Roman Reigns for that. Not one fucking bit. But to make him world champion, he would have to be there. He would. He needs to be there. If you're going to make him world champion, he's at least have to be at every pay-per-view to do something, or at least a couple of pay-per-views. You know, like let's say he was to do WrestleMania, wins the world title, defends it at Backlash, then goes ahead, takes a 1 month hiatus to like one of the B-level pay-per-views like Money in the Bank. Comes back for Clash at the Castle or something, or whatever the fuck they're calling it now. There's a change on the title every year with Clash. But let's say it's Clash in Paris or Clash at the Castle or whatever it's going to be for that. You have him appear for that. SummerSlam, you have him appear for that. War Games, you have him appear for that. Those kinds of things. And, you know, do 2 or 3 appearances for building the matches he has with his opponent for defending his title. And that's it. Keep it simple with him because, you know, the man does deserve to be around his family. He walked around and spent half of his career doing dumb ass shit and making a fool out of himself so he can earn money for his family and keep his place in WWE as a top dog. Once he broke away from the top dog bullshit and he was actually the tribal chief, that's when he started seeing success roll his way as a main eventer and as a WWE player. So yeah, I don't disagree with anything he's saying here. The man absolutely deserves to be around his family. And if that's what he wants to do with all the time he's put in, he absolutely deserves to do that. And if WWE didn't care to give him that, then he would have every right to tell them to go fuck off, and I'm sure he'd find other avenues to earn a living at the end of the day. So, Roman Reigns is cool in my book. I just did not like the character he was portraying for half of his career. I thought it sucked. I knew he could do better, and I wanted him to, and they eventually, finally, during the pandemic, did that. So, I totally agree with all these comments he made in this segment. It was 100% on point. So Reigns says he doesn't need an apology from CM Punk, even though the Usos feel they still are owed one by CM Punk. He'll go He'll go get one later tonight. What's the worst that can happen? CM Punk beats him up. They laugh and Reigns walks off. So Reigns is still playing the tribal chief, egotistical maniac while still being a babyface type of sense, because he doesn't seem to cheat anymore in his matches. When he was a heel, he was cheating at times and trying to steal victories that way. But there was times he would win matches clean as a heel, so I can appreciate that as well. So anyway, the women's Intercontinental title match was up next. AJ Lee defeated Bayley in a fairly decent matchup. I think AJ was moving a lot better in this matchup. She wasn't hesitating or anything like that. I think she's getting it through her head that she no longer has to feel worried or concerned that she's going to fuck up or injure herself anymore, because she knows her body can actually handle it. So that's a plus. Match was okay and decent. But after the match was over, though, Becky Lynch came into the picture. She beat the living tar out of her. And attacked AJ Lee. She drives AJ Lee into the LED wall and down onto the stage. Lynch is furious since losing the title to Lee at Elimination Chamber. Lynch drives Lee into the metal barricade and grinds her face on it. Lynch kicks Lee in the spine and throws a referee down. Lynch gets her down to the ringside area and drives her into the barricade before stomping away at her. WWE officials and referees run down to pull Lynch away, and Lynch grabs the women's championship and smashes it over Lee's face. And then Lynch stands over Lee and holds the title up in the air before walking off. So obviously we're getting a women's championship rematch between these two. So our next matchup was the Intercontinental Championship with Penta Jr. going up against Dragon Lee. This was a fun match, but, I mean, like, did anyone expect the title to change hands? No. Can we get Penta in a fucking program for the IC Championship or what? Or otherwise, get him the fuck off my television. That's why Dominic Mysterio should have not lost the fucking IC Championship. I think Dom and Finn Balor competing over the IC title would have been fucking fantastic. They could have had the same thing they did in the match between Penta and Dom, where Finn Balor almost cost Dom the match, but Dom managed to pull away with the victory, and then that would lead to Dom pretty much getting upset with him that he almost cost him the match, like, what the fuck's your deal? And, you know, Finn Balor pretty much saying the same damn thing he said before in the original storyline that we saw. And that would piss off Dom, and he would be excommunicated out of the group. And then we'd get a build towards the IC Championship and Finn Balor and Dom. Would have made sense. Finn Balor at least would have won a championship to end a WrestleMania program with Dominic Mysterio. And Finn Balor could have been carrying the IC Championship till they could find an opening for him to get into a world title picture, if that's ever going to happen. I would like to see Finn Balor as a world champion at some point again, because his run with the Universal title the first time around did not go his way. He was only one day as champion. So, pretty fucking sad and pathetic if you ask me. But it is what it is. Anyway, after the match was over, Penta celebrates with the title before helping Dragon Lee to his feet. They embrace in the ring, and Lee shows respect to the champion. Corey Graves says, "This is wrestling" in Spanish, which goes by Esto es lucha. And somewhere in the Vision's locker room, Paul Heyman is still looking disheveled and beaten. Logan Paul and Austin Theory are with him. And Theory says Brock Lesnar will do what he needs to do to Obafemi. As for Seth Rollins, he's a dead man. They'll handle him. Heyman says, that's the worst thing you can do. Rollins' game plan is divide and conquer strategy. Rollins hit him with the Shield chair shot and stomped him. He's a 60-year-old man. No ramifications. They have no leverage. They need titles. They need to get themselves in position for the Usos tag team titles. Once they get those, he can position them for singles titles. The focus needs to be on the Usos. Theory says he'll apply the pressure. Heyman says, that's my vision. Paul says they'll get the tag team titles as of now. The Usos are ex-champions because they love him so much. They'll get LA Knight too. Paul slaps Heyman on the back and walks off. Heyman is in a lot of pain as well. This is kind of weird. So, it makes sense. I mean, I even mentioned this, that Logan Paul and Austin Theory, at this point, with all the missing pieces of the vision gone, Logan Paul and Austin Theory would make a good tag team. At least Austin Theory would be left out of the shuffle. Him winning the tag team gold against one of the best tag teams in WWE right now would be fun to watch at a WrestleMania event. I mean, we're not getting Rey Fenix and Penta, the Lucha Brothers versus the Usos, which, my God, that would be a fucking amazing matchup. But, you know, obviously we can't get any great tag team wrestling in WWE. AEW ain't any better at this point. They had the fucking Young Bucks and FTR go at it for the 15 millionth time. Even though the match was great at the Revolution pay-per-view this past Sunday, there is nothing going on in tag team divisions in either one of these promotions. It's god-awful. So, I mean, seeing that match take place with the Usos versus Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and them dropping those titles to Logan Paul and Austin Theory to build around the story of them having leverage, I guess works. But in all honesty, do I care? No. I don't give a shit. This don't mean nothing to me. It's fucking bullshit. But anyway, let's move on. Next, we had Maxine Dupri going up against Natty, which is Natty Hart, Natalia Hart. Nobody gave a shit about this match. Natty wins by submission and a sharpshooter and wins the match. Goody for her. Who gives a shit? Nobody gave a fuck. Went over the Randy Orton segment. I'm going to go over that again. He also, at the end of his promo with Michael Cole, after he was done talking on the phone, he also says, "Hey Cole, wrestling has more than one royal family." Now that could also mean Bob Orton, his father. Maybe his father shows up and helps him get a W over Cody Rhodes. That would be interesting. That would also work if this was about 20 years ago. Because at least Bob Orton back then was a little bit younger and could move around better. And shit, we would have gotten Cody Rhodes and Bob Orton versus... Randy Orton and Bob Orton versus Cody Rhodes and Dusty Rhodes. That would have been a fun fucking match to watch. Father and sons duking it out in a tag team match. That'd be fucking hilarious to watch. I would have fucking been all over that if they could have done that. But obviously back then, Cody Rhodes wasn't really built up as a main event star like he is now. So unfortunately, we'll never get that match. And Bob Orton being anywhere near a wrestling ring and actually physically wrestling, I don't think is ever happening, even though he's still alive. So yeah, that's a possibility as well. Javon Evans comes up to Dragon Lee, who is holding his neck in pain. Evans celebrates Lee's performance, and Kofi Kingston walks over and asks for a word with Evans. And Kingston says he knows Evans wants to be the next face of WWE. As a former WWE champion, it's all about who you associate with. And there are people who will lift you up and will be drag on him down. Evans declines to join the New Day, referencing the fact that he was making fun of Dragon Lee. He didn't appreciate that, so that's why he said no. Then Grayson Waller comes up and says he doesn't see what Kingston sees in Evans. And Kingston says people say the same thing about Waller. Oh, shit. So, apparently he's taking shots at fucking Grayson Waller, and I agree. I think Grayson Waller is absolute trash. Danhausen comes up and wants to join the New Day. Oh my god. This guy joining the New Day, that would be really fucking weird. They don't want Danhausen to join the New Day. They're not afraid of his voodoo. Kingston pulls Waller in front of him as Danhausen says, "You are cursed." Danhausen claps, and "You're cursed," to the rhythm of New Day rocks. And Waller is upset that he's been cursed because Kofi Kingston placed him in front of himself and put Grayson Waller to the curse of Danhausen. Absolute fucking ridiculous nonsense. Danhausen is running his course very fast into the fucking ground. I don't particularly care to see Danhausen. I've never been a fan of his. I mean, he's funny in certain ways, but he's not an actual wrestler. He stands backstage like some fucking troll, cursing everybody and costing them matches. Oh boy, like, that's so fucking innovative and entertaining. That's just giving away spoilers before the match even takes place on the show. So, I don't know. To me, it seems like a lot of shit. Following that, we had a non-title match with Stephanie Vaquer versus Raquel Rodriguez with Liv Morgan in her corner. This match was whatever. I fucking don't give a shit. Stephanie Vaquer ends up winning this matchup. Liv Morgan's going to be winning the Women's World Championship. More than likely. What else? Io Sky was involved in this match. Why she was involved, I have no fucking clue whatsoever. I don't understand why she's there. Hopefully we get some explanation as to why that even happened, but whatever. Following that, we had Lyra Valkyria backstage talking to Bayley. Bayley is dejected, upset with herself that she didn't win the IC Championship, and Valkyria yells at her and says they'll get to WrestleMania together. The Kabuki Warriors then come up and ask Asuka, says she'll never forget Bayley and Valkyria costing her the match last week. She could have beaten AJ Lee tonight, and Asuka walks off, leaving a sad-looking Kairi Sane. Zayn says, "Stay away from us," and Asuka screams, "Kairi!" Zayn scurries off. In the background, Logan Paul and Austin Theory also come up and spoke with Maxine Dupree, which is a little odd. I actually noticed that in the background when I was watching this segment. Who was seated on the floor and holding her leg in pain. And that was pretty much it. I don't know if that was part of the show or they were just being themselves in real life and they just so happened to be on camera while doing it. Anyway. They have made it official, though. Obafemi will be facing Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So that's been made official. World Tag Team Champions Usos are walking backstage when LA Knight comes up to them. They all have business with the Vision going a long way back. Knight says he couldn't help but notice that Roman Reigns is getting cozy. They say it's family business. Knight needs to mind his own business. And Knight says he respects family business, but he can't respect the old bloodline's return. Knight won't be on the same page if they do that. Jimmy Uso bumps his fist, but Jey Uso declines, and Knight chuckles and walks off and says, yeah. Anyway, Roman Reigns is the last segment with CM Punk. Reigns comes out, starts off with "Acknowledge Me." Another OTC chant breaks out. Reigns says he knows they hear it in the back and understand whose show this is. Reigns is in the beginning and the middle and also at the end. They already know who closes the show, the OTC. You gotta forgive him. Phil gets a little confused, you know. He must have forgotten they're in the main event on his show. Reigns smiles and says, "Don't listen to that, Phil. That the water's warm." Reigns wants to handle some business with him. Punk comes out. He's cheered like crazy as usual. Punk makes a long entrance and stands across from Reigns. The crowd is buzzing and chanting his name, and Reigns says, "Welcome to my ring. Welcome to my main event." Punk backs up and says Reigns keeps using his government name like it's supposed to be an insult. His friends and family are allowed to call him Phil. He'd maybe try to insult Reigns by calling him Tititaka or whatever his real name is, but he doesn't obsess over him or read his Wikipedia. He won't call Reigns Joe because that would be insulting a real Samoan. Oh shit, he's talking about Samoa Joe, who he loves very much. Reigns tells him to call Joe and ask who the real tribal chief is. So he's paying homage to Samoa Joe, who works for AEW, and he's shit on the company Samoa Joe works for. And yet still praising Samoa Joe, who is part of that company. Find that to be ironic and funny all at the same time. Punk asks whether Reigns is really sending all the Samoans after him. Reigns says he's just giving them permission to do what they gotta do. Punk says they'll just high-five him, as everyone in San Antonio did. Punk will show him who's in charge. Punk asks if it's great to be alive on a Monday night in San Antonio or what. The crowd roars a CM Punk chant, picks up, and Punk says he's surprised Reigns hasn't taken a swing at him. Talking about the main event, Punk has already won because he's in Reigns' head. The crowd starts to sing Roman Reigns' name, and Reigns says he expected him to say that, but he's on everyone's mind all the time. As for Punk, he'll just say anything, like he's got him in the main event. Phil here hasn't main evented anything this year. Phil couldn't even main event a live event tour in Europe, let alone the main event of WrestleMania. Reigns tells Punk to say something special, and Punk says they're calling now, but he called for Reigns last week. Reigns was too chicken shit to show up, so he sent his cousins. And Punk says he's a gold medal habitual line stepper. He'll do whatever he pleases to gain an advantage. That's why the people love him and Reigns doesn't. He didn't want Jimmy AJ to get caught in the crossfires, but they came out and handled family business. Punk deserved what he got. It was the right message, but the wrong messenger. Who is the real tribal chief here? Reigns asked the crowd why they'd cheer for CM Punk. He's heard this garbage for 5 years. Punk is a trute and redundant. He repeats the same shit over and over again. He's a part-timer. Reigns tells Punk to find out what the top players do, like Punk's wife. Reigns says, until you come up with something that can actually phase him, don't waste my time, Phil. Punk steps in his way and backs up. Reigns goes to leave, but Punk goes out and stands in front of him. And Punk says this is his ring and title. He tells Reigns when he can leave. Punk calls him a young boy and says it's not that time. Punk says he can see and feel that he's in Reigns' head. This is the last time Reigns will main event a WrestleMania. He'll lift Reigns onto his shoulders as his Punkamaniacs chant his name and split his ego with his knee before beating him on the grandest stage of them all. An OTC champ picks up and Reigns says he didn't want to go here because they have so much rich history to tap into. Punk is delusional. They know Punk is great on the microphone and at the mental games. Punk won't faze him. He's the most successful superstar Punk has ever run into. Reigns is the tribal chief and has done everything under the sun in this business. Punk can't walk the walk. Punk isn't faster or stronger than him. Punk is nothing to him. The title on Punk's waist is an embarrassment. Punk is a try-hard making them look bad because he's old. Punk rocks him with the right hand, and then Raw GM Adam Pearce and other officials run down to keep Punk at bay so he doesn't further extend this into a brawl. And Reigns smiles and says he can play mind games too. Reigns gets to his feet, smiling broadly and rubbing his eyebrow. Reigns says Punk can dish it, but you say one thing and he folds and he can't take it. And Punk angrily walks off and the show goes off the air. And that's it. That, despite the fact that they didn't go into the I'm going to bury you next to your dog, like you claim you're going to bury me next to my father. This segment wasn't terrible, but it didn't add that extra layer of entertainment to it. But it is what it is. I thought Raw last night was fairly decent and watchable to get through for 3 hours or almost 3 hours. And I thought it was pretty good. And I thought what they did with a workaround with the Larry not being mentioned in this segment was okay for what it was. And that's pretty much it, guys. So I thought Raw was watchable, fairly decent, but nothing that great. I mean, we're not talking levels of fucking Ruthless Aggression or Attitude Era type shit. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But anyway, guys, at this time, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching. And have a great night, guys. Bye.